Your doctor checks your blood pressure, prescribes medication for high cholesterol, and tells you to reduce salt. But here's what they're not telling you. They're treating symptoms, not the root cause of what's actually happening inside your arteries. And that root cause is something called endothelial damage, a condition that affects millions of Americans over 60, but rarely gets discussed in the doctor's office. Today, I'm going to share with you a simple drink that addresses this root cause directly. A drink that research shows can improve blood flow as effectively as moderate exercise, reverse arterial stiffness, and actually help your arteries function like they did decades ago. This isn't some exotic supplement or expensive treatment. It's something you can make at home for pennies a day. But before we get to the drink itself, you need to understand what's really happening inside your arteries and why the conventional approach is missing the point. Have you been told you have high blood pressure, high cholesterol? Maybe your doctor has mentioned concern about plaque in your arteries? If so, you're not alone. But here's the critical piece that most doctors never explain. That plaque, that high blood pressure, the cholesterol buildup, these are not the disease. They're your body's response to damage that's already occurred. Think of it this way. If you see firefighters at a burning building, you don't blame the firefighters for the fire. They're there responding to the problem. The same is true for arterial plaque. The real problem is endothelial damage. If you could look inside a healthy artery, you'd see a smooth inner lining made of a single layer of specialized cells. This is called the endothelium. It's incredibly thin, just one cell thick, but it performs dozens of critical functions. It regulates blood pressure, prevents clotting, controls inflammation, and manages blood flow to every organ in your body. When this delicate lining gets damaged, everything starts to go wrong. The damage starts with inflammation. Maybe it's from years of eating too much sugar, from chronic stress, from smoking, from lack of exercise, or from a combination of factors. This inflammation damages those delicate endothelial cells. And once that happens, your body launches a repair response. It sends cholesterol, calcium, and protein to patch up the damaged area. That's what plaque is. It's not the villain. It's the repair crew. But if you keep damaging the endothelium, your body keeps sending more repair materials. The plaque builds up. The arteries get narrower. Blood flow decreases. And eventually, you end up with high blood pressure, risk of blood clots, and potentially a heart attack or stroke. When your endothelium gets damaged, you lose something critical called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a molecule that your endothelial cells produce naturally. It's one of the most important substances in your entire cardiovascular system. Nitric oxide keeps your arteries flexible and open. It's a vasodilator, which means it signals your artery walls to relax and widen, allowing more blood to flow through. When you have adequate nitric oxide, your blood pressure stays normal. Your risk of clotting decreases dramatically, and your arteries remain flexible and healthy. But when endothelial damage occurs, nitric oxide production drops. Without enough nitric oxide, your arteries can't dilate properly. Blood pressure goes up, the artery walls become thicker and stiffer, inflammation increases, and your risk of developing a blood clot skyrockets. In fact, about 90% of heart attacks involve blood clots. And a major reason for those clots is inadequate nitric oxide from endothelial damage. Now here's the good news. There are natural, scientifically proven ways to increase your nitric oxide levels and protect your endothelium. First, sunlight. When you spend time in the sun, you're not just getting vitamin D. You're also getting infrared light. About half of the sun's rays are infrared, and infrared light directly stimulates nitric oxide production in your blood vessels. Vitamin D itself is one of the most potent stimulators of nitric oxide production. Second, nasal breathing. When you breathe through your nose instead of your mouth, you actually increase nitric oxide production. Your nasal passages produce nitric oxide, and breathing through your nose delivers it directly to your lungs and bloodstream. Third, magnesium. This mineral is involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in your body, including the production of nitric oxide. Unfortunately, studies show that about 68% of Americans are deficient in magnesium. Now let's talk about reversing the damage that's already occurred. Let's say you already have plaque buildup in your arteries. Is it possible to reverse it? The answer is yes, and there's a specific mechanism that makes this possible. It's called reverse cholesterol transport. Your body has a built-in system for removing cholesterol from arterial plaque and transporting it back to your liver where it can be recycled or eliminated. Several things can enhance reverse cholesterol transport. Niacin, also known as vitamin B3, is particularly effective. HDL cholesterol, often called good cholesterol, plays a crucial role because it's the transport vehicle. Exercise activates this transport system powerfully. Fasting, which means not eating constantly throughout the day, also enhances it. And here's a big one: low carbohydrate diets. Let me put this in perspective. Your normal blood sugar should be around 80 milligrams per deciliter. That's equivalent to about 1 teaspoon of sugar in your entire bloodstream. Just 1 teaspoon. Now consider that the average American consumes somewhere between 50 and 100 teaspoons of sugar every single day. When you add up all the refined sugars and refined starches, so how can people consume this much sugar daily yet maintain normal blood sugar? Here's how. Sugar is so toxic to your arteries that your body has an emergency response system called insulin. Insulin acts like a vacuum cleaner, rapidly pulling sugar out of your bloodstream before it can cause too much damage. But here's the problem. After 15 to 20 years of this constant demand, your pancreas becomes exhausted. It can't produce enough insulin anymore. That's when blood sugar starts to rise into diabetes. And all that excess sugar is creating endothelial damage and inflammation. It's also being converted into cholesterol in your liver. A low-carbohydrate diet addresses all of this at once. Research shows you can remove 40% of liver fat in just 14 days on a low-carb diet. The inflammation decreases. Endothelial damage slows down. Nitric oxide production improves. A few more important points. Your body eliminates excess cholesterol through bile. If you've had your gallbladder removed, you might need bile salt supplements. Regarding calcium and arterial plaque, magnesium is the master controller of calcium. Remember, arteries are controlled by muscle. They contract with calcium and relax with magnesium. Polyphenols, which are plant compounds with powerful antioxidant properties, are extremely protective for the endothelial layer. And vitamin K2 is crucial for preventing arterial calcification. K2 keeps calcium in your bones and teeth where it belongs, rather than in your arteries. Now let's talk about the drink. The key ingredient is cacao powder. Not cocoa powder, though they're related. Cocoa powder is roasted cacao. Cacao powder is made from raw cacao beans that haven't been roasted, so they retain much higher levels of beneficial compounds called flavonols. And here's what's truly amazing. Research shows that consuming cacao powder produces effects on your arteries that are virtually identical to moderate exercise. In one study, researchers compared the vasodilation from consuming cacao powder to the vasodilation from moderate exercise. The results were remarkably similar. Think about that. You can drink something and create arterial benefits similar to a workout. Cacao powder is a potent trigger for the enzyme systems in your body that produce nitric oxide. It doesn't contain nitric oxide itself. Instead, it stimulates your endothelial cells to make more of their own nitric oxide. This is actually better because you're teaching your body to produce it naturally again. What I personally do each morning is take a scoop of cacao powder and mix it with beetroot powder. Beetroot powder is one of the richest natural sources of nitric oxide. So I'm combining two powerful approaches. The cacao stimulates my body to produce more nitric oxide, while the beetroot provides nitric oxide directly. I mix these in water. Sometimes I use warm water, which helps them dissolve better, but I never use boiling water because that can damage some of the beneficial compounds. Let me share some compelling research. One study showed that cacao powder reversed arterial stiffness. As we age, our arteries naturally become stiffer and less flexible. Cacao powder was shown to make arteries more flexible again, essentially reversing arterial aging. What's even more interesting is that the effects are cumulative. The benefits build up over time. Regular consumption actually teaches your arteries to produce more nitric oxide on their own. Another remarkable study tested people between the ages of 50 and 80 who consumed cacao powder daily for just 14 days. After those 2 weeks, researchers measured the thickness of their arterial walls. The results showed that their arteries had the thickness measurements of people who were 20 to 30 years younger. In just 2 weeks, they had reversed decades of arterial aging. And the benefits extend beyond just your heart and arteries. It's also beneficial for your brain, improving cognitive function and blood flow to brain tissue. It's good for your skin and benefits numerous organs throughout your body. Now, let's talk about how to take this properly. You can mix cacao powder in water and drink it in the morning. But here's an important point. Don't drink it at the same time as coffee. Coffee contains caffeine, which is a vasoconstrictor, meaning it causes arteries to narrow slightly. Cacao powder is creating vasodilation, widening your arteries. These are opposing effects. If you want the full cardiovascular effect, have your cacao drink either 2 hours before or 2 hours after your coffee. However, if you're more interested in the cognitive benefits, then mixing them is fine. Sometimes I add a small pinch of sea salt for trace minerals. Often I add a scoop of magnesium glycinate, which is a highly absorbable form of magnesium. This gives me extra magnesium for cardiovascular health and nitric oxide production. One important note: do not put cacao powder in boiling water. Warm water is fine, but boiling temperatures can destroy some of the delicate flavonol compounds. I also recommend choosing organic cacao powder if possible. Non-organic versions may contain pesticide residues. Let me summarize. The root cause of cardiovascular disease is endothelial damage and the resulting decrease in nitric oxide production. Natural ways to increase nitric oxide include sunlight exposure, nasal breathing, and magnesium supplementation. To reverse existing arterial plaque, you can enhance reverse cholesterol transport through niacin, HDL cholesterol, exercise, intermittent fasting, and low-carbohydrate diets. And the single most powerful drink you can consume for arterial health is cacao powder mixed with water. Optionally add beetroot powder for an even stronger effect. This combination has been scientifically shown to produce vasodilation similar to exercise, reverse arterial stiffness, and make your arteries function like they did decades ago. This isn't a quick fix. Cardiovascular health is built through consistent daily habits. But if you make this drink part of your morning routine, along with other healthy lifestyle choices like reducing sugar, getting regular movement, and managing stress, you can genuinely improve your arterial health at any age. Your arteries have a remarkable ability to heal when you give them the right support. I encourage you to try this drink for at least 2 weeks. That's the time frame in which study participants saw measurable improvements. Pay attention to how you feel. Many people report having more energy, thinking more clearly, and simply feeling better as their circulation improves. Drop a comment below and let me know your results. And if you found this information valuable, please share it with friends or family members who might benefit. Thank you for watching, and here's to your health and vitality in the years ahead.